Hey everyone, welcome to an episode of Alley Outdoors. Today I'm gonna just basically share some things I didn't like about the Bülk Mark 1 and just kind of show you why I don't like them. So number one thing that I don't like about the Bülk is it has a bunch of leaks. The reason why this is an issue is because I like to ride my velomobiles all year round. That's part of the reasons why I get them is because I like to ride in the hot and cold seasons. So winter time where it gets down to like, it's gone down to negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit in some winters, but usually it hits at least 20 degrees Fahrenheit at least once in winter. And I ride in the rain and stuff, and it's not waterproof, so it kind of drips down in multiple spots from the factory. It just kind of start from the front to the rear how it leaks. First part up front here is the front maintenance hatch. This thing is not watertight. Basically these lips sit up a little bit and water gets in there and gets caught on the Velcro and leaks down in. I'll show you all the leaks in a minute. Another issue is the NACA duct here. It leaks down in there, so that'll leak down on you. From the factory, it actually leaks in here. There's a little notch here, a little valley here that directs water straight down inside to the velomobile. And the visor has a big gap under it, and that's to kind of make it anti-fog, clear the fog away. And so I put some 5/16 inch weather stripping there to kind of prevent that. But let's go ahead and show you guys the leaks. I'm just gonna do it with a garden hose on shower mode, so just kind of, I'm just gonna spray the NACA duct on the outside, and you can see it just pouring in. Leaks in because I didn't seal it up. And then from the factory it would normally just leak straight in right there, but you can see that weather stripping redirects it to the outside. And let's see if I can show you the leaking on the front maintenance hatch. So the front maintenance hatch leaks inside pretty bad. I'm just gonna spray it down here. You can see it dripping down from the maintenance hatch all the way up front too, and this just soaks everything. So that's where it leaks in water at. Now you can fix the maintenance hatch by just putting some electrical tape around the seam here, but I don't want to have to undo electrical tape every time I want to get in my front hatch, and I get in there quite often, almost every ride. Go ahead and open this up so I can show you guys another thing. Another issue I had was rust, and I actually had to replace my chainring bolts, which were titanium ones, because when water gets in here, it builds up on here and it rusted the chainring bolts, the stock ones, out from the inside out. Now there's also little spider bolts that hold this black piece on, but I think those might be specialty bolts, and I don't know if I can buy replacements for those at the hardware store, but those are also rusted. Another part that's rusted is the swing arm bolts on a swing arm bracket back here behind the seat. And this is actually a safety concern to me as well, because I don't know if you can see it down there, but there's rust down here and on the bolts. The reason why there's rust there is because they welded those bolts to the bracket. And when you weld stainless steel, it takes away the chromium oxide layer that protects it from rust. And my thing is if those bolts ever rust out, your swing arm has nothing to attach to on this side, and I can only imagine that it would just swing to the side and the tire would rub the wheel well until it burns a hole in it until you get it stopped. So that's kind of one of the main downsides I have to the rusting. And the chain ring, if those bolts rust out and it's just, the chain ring just snaps off when you're on a climb, you can potentially smack your knee into something. It's not really the biggest deal if your chain ring breaks, your chain ring bolts snap, but the swing arm bolts, that's the main thing keeping you stable, especially if you entered into a corner and it happened. I can only imagine what happens. The second thing I want to touch on is everything that moves on this body, it scratches it or interferes with it in some way. So let's start from the front. Just taking the access hatch on and off. So it causes scratches. You can see some right here. And there's probably more down here. Yeah, right here. Because when you peel it away, you got to peel it away. Another part that interferes with the body, at least on mine, I understand at least one other velomobile rider with the Bülk MK1 had this issue where you have the front chain hitting the battery tray. And from what I understand, this is more of an issue with the crankset, the chain ring being so close. You see it's directly in line there, and the chain hits the battery tray here. So I had to remove quite a bit of material. I had to move some material there. You can see the area cut away there. I know at least one other person had to do it, and I did ask Yan from Velomobile World, and he said it is okay to remove some of the material, a little bit of material there if you have to for the chain clearance, because most of the structure comes from the top. So most of the strength comes from the top. So I did ask Yan when I did it if it was all right, and he said yeah, it's fine to remove a little bit. But some people would argue I moved a lot of material, but I basically removed what I had to remove. Mosquitoes are eating me alive. Working our way back, start with the tiller. Tiller hits the racing hood, or any hood you have on here. Basically, when you close the hood, it basically hits the tiller, and the tiller doesn't go down. And you can see right here, the hood's gotten closed a couple times on the tiller, and it could happen by accident. You forget to put the tiller down from the hold up here, because that's how you store it to get in and out. And basically you get out and the wind blows it down real fast, and this hits the tiller. Tiller doesn't move out of the way, your hood will actually continue to go down and bend right here, and it can snap your hood. Again, just another way things interfere with each other on this that move. Let's go ahead and put the tiller down out of the way. Another thing that interferes, working our way back on the hood, is the visor hits the windows and the reflective decals on the side. So basically up and down, open is hitting the reflective decal on this side, and actually on the other side it's actually taking away the window. It's actually hitting the window, and I have to keep pushing this window back on. But basically I put it down, I put it up, and it would pull the window away from the hood. So another place where it leaks in at, I forgot about, is the visor. There's a big gap under the visor for anti-fog. I just put 5/16 inch weather stripping there. And basically what was happening was, when I was riding in the rain was getting shot up in there straight into my eyes. Another thing I don't like about the Bülk is the seat. So the seat, compared to my quwts XS carbon, this thing is very thin and flimsy. And it's really thin, you can see that. I can basically bend it with my hands. I can basically crack it with my fingers here. I actually have cracked this seat because I was getting in and out of it by just stepping on the seat, and I cracked it over here. Can't really see it on camera, but I did crack it over here, stepping on the seat here to get in and out of it, instead of stepping on the little bridge down there, or shuck tower, I don't know what you want to call it. And apparently that's where you're supposed to step, so I made a video showing that that's where you're supposed to step, because I didn't know that when I got it, so I decided to make it known to everybody else. Another thing about this seat is you'll notice that it's a little bit oddly shaped at the top, and that's because from the factory it sat up about this tall and it was really wide, so it was basically all around here. And basically, let me show you the issue with that. This was interfering with the body and the headrest adapter. So let's put it into the third position. That's where I currently have it. It's in the third position on the rail. So you can see I'm only about halfway through the rail. Some people say, oh, that's too far back, and it's not too far back. Obviously, why would they put the notches in there? It wasn't designed to put that far back. So basically, you can see I cut away just enough of the seat material, the carbon material, to make sure it clears here. And you can take the seat out. like from the bottom out and push it that way. That's how you could get it out. But the issue also was it was sitting on the headrest adapter up here, and it was basically taking chunks out of the carbon fiber up here, taking chunks out of the seat, and it just basically digging into the seat and the headrest adapter. Without the headrest adapter on, it was also hitting the painted combing here, and you can see the headrest adapter. I already touched on this. The headrest adapter scratches the paint as well. That's why I put duct tape there now, because it was scratching the paint pretty bad. And just things that I didn't like about it from the factory: it shouldn't be damaging itself, shouldn't be scratching itself. Some people don't care. They're just like, oh, it's a new Velomobile, it's gonna get scratched. Well, if it's gonna get scratched, I'd rather it be from me and not from the way it's designed and how things interfere with each other. I mean, basically I could snap my hood just by leaving the tiller up by accident, so I gotta kind of remind myself to put the tiller down. But that's the main reasons why I don't like the Bülk. Another reason why I don't like the Bülk is I got the 12-speed, and one of the issues I had with the 12-speed was the rear derailleur actually didn't fit in here. I'll remove the derailleur cover. So in here, you can kind of see it's bent out a little bit. So what I did is I took a heat gun to this and I basically pulled on it with a screwdriver. So otherwise the derailleur was hitting the body and it wasn't allowing it to go into the highest 12th gear. So that's just something I had to do in order to be able to use all 12 gears. And I'm not really sure why they'll just make the body a little bit wider there. Just literally like probably like 3 or 4 like 3 millimeters. That's all I needed there. So I took a heat gun to it, molded it out a little bit, and it works now. But I still have issues between gears 5 and 6. It like skips. It like skips over a gear. So you don't really get to use all 12 gears. You kind of use 5 or 6. It's not really in between. I mean, it skips one or the other depending which way you're going. But yeah, that's my experience with the Bülk Mark 1, and hasn't been a very good one. I have a lot of issues with fitment as well. We're going to attempt to address that at CycleCon. Ben Park and Yan are going to try to help me out with some fitment and adjustment issues, and Ben seems to think that if we get the seat position further forward with what they have there, different adapters and stuff, that we can move the crankset far enough forward that the chain line will clear the battery tray. But I'm very doubtful about that, because I did try it in the first forward position and I can reach there, but it's still too far back to clear the battery tray. But the reason why I had to have a more upright position is because the visor on the hood sits up too high for me, and basically if I'm down any lower, I'm looking at this pin here, or I'm looking through the NACA duct, and I don't want to be looking through the NACA duct. I want to be looking through the fog insert part of the visor, not through the down here where the bottom of the pin is. But yeah, that's kind of my experience with the Bülk, and it's not too good. The only things I do like about the Bülk is, one, it's faster than my Quest, so my commute times for like 20 miles or more have been cut down pretty significantly. So going to rail trail like 20 miles away now takes me 2 hours to go there and back instead of 3 hours to go there and back with the Quest. Another thing I'm kind of disappointed in is the air bellow in the back. It seems like the air bellow just supports extra weight, and that the shock that's in there already supports the weight of the Velomobile, the rider, and dampens it together, which is kind of like the opposite of what I thought it was going to be. I thought that the air bellow was going to hold up the weight of the rider and the Velomobile, and the shock is just going to dampen it. So maybe I misunderstood how this system was supposed to work, but I run about 7 psi in the air bellow. Another thing is, they don't give you any guidance on the pressure recommendations on the rear air bellow, so I didn't know what the heck to put in there. You know, most bikes have like a pressure chart for rider weight, like combined rider weight and whatever you're carrying. So, but this one's kind of like fuck around and find out, see which one works, which one doesn't work. So I started out low and went harder and harder, and 7 psi seems to be pretty good for me. I'm about 183 pounds. I'm going to do a review of the Bülk after CycleCon. We're going to see if we can get some of the fitment issues squared away before I do the review, but I'm going to try to give them more of the benefit of the doubt. I put it off long enough saying what I need to say about the Bülk, but I really don't like it. It's not available for me, really. I mean, I like it because it's fast, but so is the Snook, and I think the Snook would probably be better fit for me. And it's more about comfort for me than it is about speed. So I don't really like riding things I'm not comfortable with, but I'm riding this because it's faster, so it saves me time. Another thing I gotta say about the Bülk that I didn't like is how high up that hood sits. So I want to say this hood probably sits up about 6 foot tall. Like, if I stand next to it, it's taller than I am. I'm 5'3", so it's probably like 5'8", 5'10", something. I'm not really sure. I didn't measure it, but I do know that it is tall enough that when I put it in my trailer, the top of it doesn't clear the roof of my trailer, like the frame of my trailer inside. So that's something to be aware of if you're gonna be transporting this in a closed trailer. Don't put it in your trailer with the hood up. Like, that's usually how I store it with the hood up so the inside can dry out when I'm done with the ride. But I have thought about putting a reflector up there, just that way I get some use out of the height of it. But again, you really don't want to leave the hood up with the tiller up, because the hood gets blown down, it's gonna snap or get damaged. Or I haven't had it get snapped yet, but I have had it close a couple times on it. But basically what could happen is the wind come by and just blow it down like that. Now this thing does have like little pads on here, so it doesn't really damage the body when I close it like that, which I like the sound of the closing. That's another thing I do like about it. And I like how they did put this felt stuff on there. It sounds really solid when it closes like that. But another thing to be aware of is this cable here that's meant to keep the hood from going too far forward and to pull the hood down when you're sitting down back inside. That will also scratch the body, so what I did is I put some nano tape here where it scratches the body at, and you can see sometimes the hood does get caught up around here, or the cable gets caught up around here, and the hood closes on it and stuff. But there's some pretty deep scratches here, and I put tape over it, and that seems to, and since it's nano tape, it actually slows down the cable too, so it doesn't just fly open and the wind catches it. Kind of acts as like a dampener when I'm opening it up too. So, but yeah, that's my experience with the Bülk Mark 1. I'm going to do a review with it after CycleCon, but I just feel like this is something people need to know about my experience with the Bülk and why I didn't like it. And there's a lot of people that like the Bülk and are pushing the Bülk and praising the Bülk, and it is a good bike, but it's not. There's just some things you need to be aware of. Thanks for watching.